Okay, factorising by completing the square. It's just something else we can do with quadratics. So this one you do for your starter task. I just want you to write down everything you know about the equation x squared plus 7x plus 10. Think about what questions can happen with that, and think about what can we do with it. Right. First thing you could do is you might be asked to factorise it, and this is a nice factorise. There's nothing before the x squared, so it's just two numbers and multiplied to give you 10, but to give you 7. Let's do it a long way. 1 and 10. No, 2 and 5. Oh yeah, good, that works. So it's x plus 2, and then x plus 5. We can then solve it because it equals to 0, and if you remember, it's the opposite because you need one of these brackets equal to 0. So my two values of x is x equals to -2 or x equals to -5. There are other ways we could solve it. We could use the quadratic formula that I'm not going to write out with my mouse, but minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Yeah, we can complete the square if you already know, but we're going to do it in this lesson. The other thing we could do, we could use iteration to solve this. It's a very unusual thing to do, but it's something we can do. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can do. And also you've got to think, if this equals to y, we could draw it. Yeah. And if we've got a little graph here, think about it. It's quadratic. It's a positive one, so it's going to be like a U shape. We've got two solutions actually, which is 2 and -5, and plus 10. So it's going to look like that. Just stuff that we can just do with this. Anyway, let's do completing the square. Right, x plus 3 squared. If you'll be asked to expand it. Now, if you want to expand it, people still get confused, but that squared means I'm just times it by myself. That's really x plus 3 times by x plus 3. And then I'll just expand this, yeah? So x times x is x squared. X times 3 is 3x. I'll move on to the 3. 3 times x is 3x again. And 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, now for all these, my two middle terms should always add together. A few situations where it doesn't. So I've got x squared plus 6x plus 9. Okay, that's all you got to do. So if you start a task and expand them, yeah, you should notice a pattern. There is a real quick pattern that you should notice. Okay, and then when you've noticed it and you found a pattern, use that to factorise ones of below. Yeah. Okay, go guys. Obviously the yellow ones are harder and the green ones are a bit easier. It's only really the green ones you've got to pay attention to, so please don't just skip on to the yellow ones. Pause the video. Here's your answers. Hope you got them all right. Okay, and now look at them. Yeah, like let's focus just on the green ones. Are there patterns going on here? Now, really, the pattern you should notice is that my middle number is going to be this one here doubled. Okay, and my n number is going to be that one squared. So I don't really have to do a lot of expanding. I can just look at this one here. I know my middle number is going to be 2 times 10, 20. And my last number is going to be 10 times 10, which is 100. And it's just a nice, quick way of doing this. Okay, and the same with factorising. If you see the pattern where this number halved is that one squared, you know it's going to be in the pattern of like something squared. Okay, now look at this one here. Let's factorise it. I've got a pattern here. So if I halve that, I know it's 2, and 2 squared is 4. So I know it's going to be x plus 2 squared. Perfect. Okay. Now using my previous answer, which I've left here, what do you think? Which one works? Well, the question is 1 less. So it sort of makes sense. My answer is also going to be 1 less. So it's going to be x squared minus 1. So what I'm really doing is I'm trying to I'm using this one here, but I'm doing something towards the end to make it look like my question there. Okay, let's do another one. That one there. Oh, it fits the pattern. Okay, that's good. Because 6 halves is 3 and 3 squared is 9. Good. So, well, it's one more than a question. So the answer should be one more than the previous answer. So it's going to be D. Good. This one here. Oh, it fits the pattern that half of 10 is 5. Yep. So then this one here is going to be 1 less, so it's 1 less. Okay. That one there. So I'm not showing you that pattern in the middle. Now, I know it's going to be 6 and a plus 6 because half of 12 is your x plus 6. Then I need to think about what's like the n bit. Okay. Now, if this was normally, I'd need this to be a 36. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to get rid of this 36 by putting a minus 36. Okay, and a plus 46. So what I've done in logic is this bit here, okay, is identical to that bit there. And if you don't believe me, you just got to expand it. Okay. Now when I collect the terms, I've got minus 36 and plus 46, which actually gives me a plus 10. So it's going to be A. And this is completing the square. Now, pause the video, see if you can work it out. So I'm going to put 10 here because I know 10 is half of 20. So it's going to be x plus 10 squared. Now we're minus 100. And I'm minusing 100 because it's this number squared. And plus 80, because we've got 80 here. Minus 100 plus 80 is minus 20. So it's going to be D. It's gone. I'll just quickly do more. So this one here. Let's complete the square. Now the first one is going to be x plus something squared. It's going to be half of this one, which is 1. Okay. Then I need to subtract 1 squared. Okay, and I'd normally add anything else that's on here, but there's nothing on here. So that's already completed the square. And again, we could expand it. We'll get back to our question. That one there. So I want to start again. So I know it's going to be x plus something squared. I look at this number, I halve it, so it's 1. And then that's minus 1 squared. Okay, then plus 5. Minus 1 squared is just 1. Okay, and minus 1 plus 5 is 4. So it's going to be x plus 1, all of it squared, plus 4. And that's completing the square. Okay, so we've got to complete the square again. So it's going to be x plus something squared. So we halve this to make it 5. It's going to be a plus. Right, and this is always going to be a minus 5 squared, which is going to be minus 25. Plus 60. Okay, good. And then we just got to do minus 25 plus 60. Okay, which is 35. Plus, so I've got x plus 5, all of it squared, plus 35. And that's all you've got to do for the time being. And there are slightly harder ones here. Okay. Now I'm going to do another lesson on these, but I'm just going to start it now. Now the key thing is I can't actually complete the square with this 2 in front of it. Okay. And it's not an equation, so I can't divide it all by 2. So what I need to do is I have to factorize 2 out. Okay. And I like to factorize 2 out of all of it. You don't have to. You can just factorize out the first couple of bits, which gives me x squared plus 6x plus, I want to say 9 halves. Yep. And then what you do is you complete the square in the brackets. So I know it's going to be x plus something squared, and it's going to be 6, so it's going to be half of 6, which is 3. And I'm going to minus 9, and I'm going to plus 9 halves. And just remember, this minus 9 is from this 3 squared. So I've got x plus 3, all of it squared. And then we've got to do minus 9 plus 9 halves. Okay. Which is actually minus 9 halves. But don't forget this 2 on the bracket. I should really put this in, so I should put a 2 there. And I should put a 2 here. And what we do, we expand the brackets, but we don't expand all of it. So what I do is I do 2 times this bracket. And all that really just leaves me is a 2 brackets x plus 3 squared. And I'll do 2 times negative 9 halves, which is just negative 9. And that's completing the square if you've got an x coefficient above 1. Okay, but as I said, I'm going to do another lesson on that. Here's the ones to do. Your green ones are easy, your yellow ones are mediums, and your red ones are hard. Yeah, so I expect the yellow ones really to be done. Right, pause the video if you need to. Okay, right. Here's all your answers. Hope you're all right. Right, next bit. We need to solve by completing the square. And we start with something like this. It's quite a nice, easy one. 100 equals x squared. So what is x? Well, what we've got to do is we've got to square root both sides. So I've got x, and the square root of 100 is 10. So you can go away thinking that you're happy, but that's not strictly right, because there is another square root of 10, and that's minus 10. And you have to acknowledge both answers. And what I like to do is I like to give a bit of space in between, and we actually write some answers. Some people actually like to do plus or minus 10. But I think if you're dealing with whole numbers and you get a whole number answer, I think you get a mistake there. Okay, so this one here is clearly going to be, oh wait, what is going to be? Right, it's just square root of 2. You got your positive square root of 2, and you also got your negative square root of 2. Okay, which equals x. Okay, we've still got to acknowledge the positive version and the negative version. And again, it is just acceptable to write plus or minus the square root of 2. Similar to the quadratic formula. Right, now this one is, again, it's nice, just a bit different. So we would start with like what's furthest away from the x, which is squared. So I need to square root both sides. Okay, so I've got minus 10, or I've got 10, and that has to equal like x plus 1. But obviously we want to know what x is, so I need to minus 1 from all sides. So I've got minus 11, or I've got 9, which equals x. And if you don't believe me, substitute minus 11 into the equation, see what you get. Substitute 9 into the equation, see what you get. In both situations, you should get 100. Okay. Okay, so you might be asked, so we've got this one here, we are going to be asked to solve this by completing the square. Now, in your exam, if it just says solve, you can do whichever method you want. Okay. In this example, I would actually try and factorize, because factorizing is a lot easier. And I know that there's two numbers and multiply to give you 9, but minus 9, but add to give you 8. But it can say solve by completing the square. The important thing is, if you complete the square, or if you use the formula, you can use whatever, you can solve any quadratic equation in the world. Yeah, factorizing only works for a certain amount. So let's factorize by completing the square. So I look at the middle one, which is 8. I'm going to have to halve it to make it 4. So I know it's x plus 4, all of it squared. I'm going to have to minus 4 squared and then minus 9. Okay, minus 4 squared is 16 minus 9, which makes that into minus 25. And then I'll add 25 to both sides to bring it over. And this is similar to the questions we just did. Okay, and so then I have to square root both sides. But remember, I get 5 or minus 5. And I just like writing them both in two separately, just to consider them both. Okay, to get x on its own, I have to subtract 4. So I've got to subtract 4 to all sides, which gives me a 1 or minus 9. Okay? And again, you can substitute them back into the original word equation to see if it works, and it should work. It does work. This one is a bit harder. Give you a bit of time to work it out for yourself. Pause the video. Right, same rules as before. You just might not get a whole number answer this time. So the 10x, the one in the middle, I would halve to make it x plus 5 squared. And you have to minus 5 squared and then plus 10. Okay, and just remember this 10 is the same 10 as above it, it's the same number. Okay, minus 5 squared is 25 plus 20, and then minus 25 plus 10 is minus 15. I'll bring the 15 over. Okay, then I square root both sides. Okay, I can use them plus and minus, which I tend to do for the square roots because it doesn't really matter that much. And I'm minus 5. And just to be clear, there's two answers here. You've got minus 5 plus the square root of 15. And then you also got minus 5 minus the square root of 15. Okay? But it's fine if you want to write both separate ones, or if you just want to write it with plus or minus. Give you one more. Okay, x plus 4, because half 8 is 4. Minus 4 squared plus 2. So minus 16 plus 2, which then makes it minus 14. Okay. Bring the 14 over by adding 14 to both sides. Square root. It's just a square root of 14, because 14 is not a square number. Okay, then I'm minus 4 from both sides. And that's my answer. Okay. Give you one more. I'll be quick with this one. Half 14 is 7. So I'm going to have to minus 7 squared at 56. That's minus 14 plus 56, which then makes it plus 7. Okay, bring the 7 over. Okay. Square root both sides. Okay. Now, something interesting sort of happens here. Yeah. Just type into your calculator square root of minus 7. You actually get like a number that doesn't work. Yeah, because we don't know the square root of minus 7. But you could argue it still works. So I still could do minus 7 squared and then minus 7. And there still are two acceptable answers. They're just not real numbers. Okay. Here's questions for you to do. Obviously, easy, medium, or hard. You have to make them all equal to 0, which is why the red ones are a bit harder. Pause the video. Next bit, here's your answers. I've left them as fractions and thirds. Type them into your calculator, put them as decimals. Okay, that's the end of the lesson.